All
Yep,
right.
and there's the spike. So, hello everybody. This is the DC podcast from Horyu Studios. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. I am Jaliber, one of the writers, directors, voice actors, audio editors, video editors. I do everything. I specifically voice Scarecrow in one of the more recent videos, and here with me I have. Dude, I fucking hate your name. I cannot pronounce it.
It's fine. Allow me to introduce myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Terminati. I am a good friend of Gulliver, and I also voice Mr. Freeze.
In the very first episode, too. And it's
Yes, very first
Jaliber,
episode.
not
Gulliver or
Galiber. It's
Gulliver?
like jelly.
Gulliver. Ah, I see. It's a
Jaliber.
pleasure to be among you.
um, so, this is my first time doing any podcast type things. Unfortunately, we could get more voice actors in here, or more members of the crew. Um, but hey, work with what you have. Um,
Indeed.
yeah.
Time zones are a mess.
Yeah, time zones are a bitch, especially when one of us lives in the U.S., the other one lives in France. You make the decision of who's who from who, who's from where. Blah, words. Um, so basically, how these podcasts are gonna work is I'm gonna have some members from the crew come in, and we're gonna talk, just like friends, but we're going to keep on the subject of DC. We're going to we're going to have 3 questions per podcasts, and we're going to answer them. And the final question is always going to be a question that I'm going to ask, but it's not just up to us to answer. It's always going to be, what do you guys want? I know I already have 14 subscribers, and I'm hoping you guys are able to help participate. Um, so, a few things I do want to mention here right away before we get to the questions. Guys, not everything takes place in Arkham.
If it was the case, it would be a whole lot more messier than you think.
We have some.
Just imagine the entirety of DC's villains are all localized in Arkham.
It makes no
Like,
sense. But we have
this would make things so hard.
Iron Gates, Iron Heights, Blackgate Prison. We have other prisons that are going to be shown, and sometimes they're not even going to be in the prison. Every 10 episodes is going to be considered a season. So we're almost done with season 1. And the final season is going to be something very, very fun for hopefully everyone involved in it. So, first, just so you guys get to know us better, top 3 or 5 DC heroes slash villains. And just a quick reason why, it doesn't have to be too long. And for each question, I'm going to either I'm going to start the answer, or I'm going to have the other person start, and then we'll just go back and forth about it. I'm going to go ahead and start off with this because I've been thinking about this question for a while. My top 3 favorite DC heroes, and I'll give you the extra 4 and 5. Batman is number 1, simply because yes, it's actually though interesting. It's because he's actually an orphan who's trying to create his own family. I relate to that part of Batman so much to me.
Why is it first? Because it's the goddamn Batman.
Yeah, to some people
So
it's like that.
yeah,
But as someone who was an orphan for a while, I related to it. I related to using that pain to try to do some good in the world. And I agree with Batman on a lot of his principles. And, he's a goddamn Batman.
mm,
So that's more my reasoning. Everyone has their own reasoning. Batman is just a cool character, and there is a reason why he is very big and very famous. My second one is Aquaman, and I tell everyone this goddamn story of why Aquaman's my second favorite, and sometimes I swear to you he's my favorite.
really, you never told me why he's your favorite.
Oh, I haven't? Okay. So story.
No, it's actually all new. I didn't know he was one of your favorites.
So
So
story.
tell me the whole story then.
So story time. I was about 5, 6 years old, and my parents, realized that I kind of like superheroes, so they got me a DVD of 4 episodes of the original Justice League season 1. I didn't realize it was part of the first 10 episodes of season 1, but it didn't have the invasion. It was just had the 2 episode part. I can't remember the other one. It was a story. No, it was when Green Lantern John Stewart was on trial. I liked that story. That was actually a really good story growing up. But the other 2 episodes were about Aquaman. And there's one scene in that gets me all the time. Hold on, someone's asking you to join.
Ah, well, let them come in.
Hold on.
Let's just give them a second.
Yeah,
to
hold
just
on. I need
adjust.
to text him.
It's fine. It's all right.
No, not just text. Just record.
At least it's really funny because you started up having learned about DC heroes and specifically comic at a young age, but I'm seeing that we really didn't have that at the moment. DC heroes weren't that much big of a deal until a little bit later in France. For example, I was basically
You just gave away the answer to the question, who's from France?
well, it's not like I'm really hiding it anyway, but I prefer to keep it at least a little bit lower on the list so that people don't take too much interest into that. Don't think of me as just one guy from France. Think of me as who I am at the moment in front of you. But among them, we had different approach to how comic and basically different characters that were introduced. I was really much enhanced in all the medieval fantasy. I think it was a lot of fantasy comics for a long while, and I only learned about superhero comics, DC, Marvel, all of that only when I was around 8 years old to 7 years old, when they finally started to become really big. And of course, those shows on TV, Justice League, Batman the Animated Series, Superman, everything actually.
Yeah. I know in other countries superheroes may not be that big, but for me, I got into it because of the toys. Actually, I fell in love with the toys. I love how they're designed. But back to the story about Aquaman. There's one thing that always stuck out to me, where Orm, the Ocean Master, has Aquaman chained to a cliff. He takes his knife, stabs it into the cliff, and hangs Aquaman's baby there.
Oh, I know this.
And then he blew up the cliff. Aquaman struggled and struggled, and he was able to break one hand out, trying to get the other one out. Just trying with all his might. But he can't. Not in time. So he takes the A on his belt and chops off his own hand in order to save his own son. That, to me, ever since a young age, to me, that is what a man should be. That's what a father should be. And it's that reason why he's my favorite. And even the sillier version, like Aquaman, King of Atlantis, I still absolutely love Aquaman in that scenario. He's hilarious. He's still somewhat in character. And Batman Brave and the Bold, Aquaman to me always stole the soul. So it's going, ha ha ha, outrageous. I can't do that voice, but he was just that friend of yours who just told you the crazy stories, and it was.
And you would just love amazing.
Yeah,
or something like that, I believe.
Yeah, it was great. I remember when I was young. When I was younger, I think he was my favorite. But I always said Batman was when I was younger because Aquaman was still being made fun of, and I felt like, part of me felt like maybe I shouldn't like him that much. But as I grew up, I just stopped giving a damn.
I mean, people always. I've seen a lot of people saying that Aquaman is just not that interesting or not that cool. there is a lot of situation where characters shine beyond what we're initially given, and this is what gets really interesting when you start scrapping a little bit further than just the surface of what they're giving you.
Yeah, because again, Aquaman isn't just the guy who talks to fish or has the power of SpongeBob. No, he is.
The
He
power
is. He is a motherfucking king. That's the thing people don't understand. Is he's a king. There's royalty. There is an entire civilization around Aquaman that you can play with. It's not just Aquaman himself doing silly things. This is where you can. Aquaman also is a character where you can either make him funny, like in Batman Brave and the Bold, without turning him into a complete joke, or you can go full Game of Thrones with him.
Oh yeah, you could definitely do that. Specifically, that the throne of Atlantis is actually the main goal, or just either getting it or destroying it with the entirety of the civilization alongside. That's basically a lot of the goals of Aquaman's violence.
Yeah, yeah, and I do think the one I think main I guess personal issue with Aquaman is maybe not all of his villains are possibly the best. Like King Shark works as an Aquaman villain. Don't get me wrong, he works way too well. There's a violent creature who's just, or even a small creature who just attacks, Atlanteans for one reason or another, even if it's just, a predator-prey dynamic, it's still a good villain dynamic. And, Black Manta, we'll get into him when I talk about some of my favorite villains. Aquaman and Black Manta are perfect nemesis, but Ocean Master is only really good for maybe 2 or 3 stories to me. He's not that good as a villain that shows up all the time. Unlike some of the other, villains and heroes I'm going to mention where they have some really good rogues galleries. I think Aquaman might not have the strongest rogues gallery, but the rogues he does have are really good. My third favorite is the Flash.
Of course.
The Flash is actually, I grew up with the Silver Age Flash. I remember when I was, I was still in elementary school. It was a little bit later, and one of the first comics I read was an omnibus of the Silver Age Flash stories, like the original Silver Age Flash stories. That zaniness, and I got introduced to Weather Wizard, Captain Cold, Heatwave, some of my favorite villains of all time. And I'm surprised Weather Wizard does not get enough love. Granted, he's not the most special villain out there, but he is a great character, especially if you just make him a theater kid, just like with a glowy stick that can shoot lightning. That is an amazing character, just on visuals. And then you just make him over dramatic for the hell of it. Boom, you get a fun villain. Like, he knows he's being over dramatic. He doesn't give a shit. But all the Flashes are. Most of the Flashes are really good. I like Barry Allen, Wally West, and even Burt Allen.
These are two of my favorites, yeah.
And I want to clarify the original Wally West. I don't know too much about Wallace West, I think his name is. I don't know too much about him, so I'm going to personally reserve judgment. Though I like Redhead Wally.
I mean, Wallace West is nice also on his own, but here's the thing with the entirety of the Flash family, basically, is that they all have either Barry or Wally being made as a figure, a mentor, a friend, or rival, which is why it's really great. For example, you can have, if I remember in one instance, Wally and Wallace together do have that kind of friend relation, but sometimes tensions are also high. It's the same with Barry. You have different situation in and there.
Yeah, and it's great. I still remember the story where they killed off Bart Allen. I remember reading that story, and I remember Wally West's absolute anger. And he did something to the main villain who did it that was worse than death. And it was just like, oh, shit. My fourth favorite DC hero is the Green Lantern. And if you're going to ask me which one, All of them. I like all of them to a certain degree. Even the ones I don't know that much, I like the premise of them, like Simon, and Alan Scott. I don't know these two as well as I know the others, and hell, I don't even know Jessica Cruz that much. But the movie Justice League versus the Fatal Five, that I just absolutely love that.
So allow me to ask you a question in that case. If you're saying you like all the Green Lanterns, right?
I'm talking about Earth Green Lanterns.
Ah, okay. This is, thank you.
Hal
This reflects
Jordan,
everything because
John
for a second
Stewart,
I was.
Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner. I forget what. There's a sassy black lesbian. I forget what the hell her name is, but she's
Wait,
even
is this
she's
the
great.
one with the big glasses?
Yeah,
Like
she's the one with the
Camina glasses?
glasses. Yeah,
Ah,
her own individual story, from what I've read so far, I haven't completed it, so I don't know if it turns to shit. Is a really fun idea, and I absolutely love it. Especially since she's a rookie as well, and I love it. Simon, I don't know too much about him. I always just started reading him, but I already kind of like him because he's not being an asshole. He's yes, he may be a car thief, but he's someone who has a legit heart of gold and a heart of courage, and I absolutely adore it. I'm here for it. And then my fifth favorite hero.
so we go up to 5, eh? Everything doing all right?
The Blue Beetle.
Mmm.
Dan Garrett, Ted Kord, and Jaime Reyes. Yes, I have yet to really read the comics. I'll admit, but I have watched the Blue Beetle retrospective by Linkara like 100 times, all of it. And I fucking love all of them. I love the journey from one Blue Beetle to the other, and I love legacy characters like that. I love it. It just gives so much potential because to me, eventually Jaime Reyes will have to pass down the Blue Beetle to someone else, and I am here to see what happens. I want to see what happens with the Blue Beetle title, and I am excited for it. That's why Blue Beetle is my fifth favorite. And Term, you do not need to go to 5. You can go up to 3 if you wish.
Okay, but I usually go backward from the ones I like to the ones I have absolutely favor among all of them.
Yeah, so again, if you want to do top 5, you can do that, but if you want to do top 3, that's perfectly fine too.
So you started with the violins, right?
I started with the what?
I said, have you started with the violin? Do we start with the violins or do we start with the heroes first?
Heroes first. We're going to do villains is going to be its
Okay.
own discussion.
Good question for the 5th one, because I absolutely love a lot of the characters, specifically the Justice League's ones.
Oh yeah.
They are the ones I've actually learned to. I grew up with watching cartoons at like Saturday Night Morning. You know the type
Yeah,
of
like
deal.
Justice League, the original Justice League, with Dre McDuffie in there and Paul Dini, and then Justice League Unlimited.
Indeed.
Those
Exactly
were
that,
those were
so-
good shit. That was some good shit.
So if I had to say 5th character, so okay. Recently, I've been starting to see a few comics and also the cartoons about them. But my 5th favorite, I would say, is Green Arrow. My 5th favorite is Green Arrow. He's a wisecracker. He's kind of like Batman, but let's
a sense
just
of
go
humor.
with a bow.
Yeah.
With a sense of humor, exactly.
Yeah, Oliver's great. He's a great character. I love him. He's a good character. Even in the darker like when I watched the Arrow show from CW, I was just like, what the fuck? They try and make Batman and Green Arrow into Batman. What the hell? No, this isn't
Yeah,
right.
that was a bit weird. It's not. It's not what it's supposed to be. Well, I mean, if they gave him Black Canary early on, he would probably phase into what the ones we know and love.
Yeah.
But for example, there is many part where I actually love interactions with him and other characters. For example, I've been slowly keeping up with Young Justice to see how it goes. And I do recall there's one part with Bruce and other heroes at the same time, Green Arrow included, which they basically said, yeah, the Justice League has run its course. We are basically more efficient as individuals, as an entire group. We did where we go, so I basically resign. So you have Batman, Green Arrow, and a bunch of other superheroes who resign. And this is where all the ones remaining realize how much fuck they are. Because they realize, and there goes our funding.
Oh yeah, because Oliver and Batman are just rich.
Mm-hmm.
They're just rich as fuck.
Yeah. I do recall one of the Blue Beetles is also in the same case. The one who's friend with Bruce
Ted
the Gold.
Cord. Ted Cord.
Yes. They're all super loaded. And the moment they leave, they basically go, well, I guess it's just going to be rice and water for a week.
Yeah, and I doubt that they want government funding, because the government
I highly doubt that.
The government will come in and just fuck them over.
Mm-hmm.
They just will.
Yeah, this is why it kind of slowly goes apart. I mean, what are they gonna do? Just imagine the Justice League struggling to get funds, and immediately there starts to go, thank you, citizen. There is no need to worry. We do not accept donation because all of this has been done by our sponsor today. Just imagine they had to go for that. Just Flash, that would not be a problem for him to get finance, but just the idea of him going on TV and his entire suit full of logos.
Yeah, I don't think any of them would do that though. That would be selling. That would be selling out.
I mean, at the end,
yeah,
they're gonna need to reach hands meet.
So what?
Yeah,
what do you think of Green Arrow in the comics though?
Which comics?
Just in the comics in general, just like the main continuity, like pre-52.
I see.
Outside of Cry for Justice. We're not talking about Cry for Justice.
Okay. Because most of them, I either see a Green Arrow being underused, or just being there, but he's not doing much. Or either they try to keep him alive as much as possible, or immediately kill him when they have the occasion.
Yeah, I still remember Oliver made a big impact on me when I was in middle school. When I read a Green Lantern comic, and I swear to you, I cannot find the page. If anyone is able to find the page, send it to me. Of Oliver crucified with chicken wire and arrows. That image is burned into my mind.
Oh yeah, I would definitely see that. But yeah.
So fourth hero.
So that's the fourth. Oh, okay. So Green Arrow. The fourth hero would be. Okay, so this one cracks me up every time I see him. Plastic Man.
A lot of people like Plastic Man. He's a good character. He's a fun character.
In the comics, he's kind of unhinged. And this is why it's great. For example,
he runs by Looney Tunes logic,
and that works at his best. For example, there is, if I recall, it was in Injustice, where he basically tries to free his son out of a highly secure prison, and he just basically Metal Gear Solid his way all in, and he's being watched on the camera and say, Plastic Man, you cannot enter this door. You'll need the key and its multiple lock. And he just shoved his hand into the lock, fiddles a bit, then came it out and just unlocked the door and whip out his middle finger, show it to the camera with the shape of the key. Here's your key. Or just another situation when he tries to, for example, once his son has been break out of prison, he's trying to. Well, he doesn't really want to hang out with him too much, but sometimes they have to. And his son is being followed by Batman. And every time he tries to shapeshift into another furniture, he gets spotted on immediately, every time.
Yep,
And the
every time.
moment he's like, "Where is Plastic Man?" It's like, how do you keep finding me? He finds me all the time. Anyway, I know he's around. Where is he? And
Who
immediately,
knows?
he just, see, he didn't notice me. I'm in the watch. He basically was in the watch that his son was wearing. Meanwhile, while he's doing the shapeshifting, I managed to get him on one. And all the shenanigans he does. I just watch a cartoon of him just going out on Brainiac, and I'm just looking at it as like, oh, you are a nobody. You're probably not worth even paying attention. Very low threat level. And Plastic Man is like, okay. You're gonna see a few things. By the end of it,
yeah,
he
so
gets
about
captured
that.
by the Justice League. And with the help of others, he's like, yeah, Plastic Man, you're like a high tier level threat. I'm gonna take you seriously now.
Yeah, I mean, you don't fuck with a guy who has Looney Tunes logic. Like, I legit don't think you can kill Plastic Man.
I mean, there is a situation when they managed to kill Plastic Man, but that was another situation.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to try to keep
Yeah.
this a little lighthearted. So, number 3 hero.
So number 3,
Sure.
this one I struggle a little bit in choosing because it's between two characters I really enjoy. It's either Superman or it's, how to say that? I love Superman as the Man of Steel, the true paragon of justice. But at the same time, I also like someone who's very equivalent to him, which is Martian Manhunter. I found the idea of basically another another alien coming from space to basically be the equivalent of Superman, but with extra abilities, to be absolutely fascinating. And another one, which is a certain magician.
Zatanna?
Not Zatanna,
Or John
funny
Constantine.
enough. John Constantine, indeed.
Everyone fucking loves John Constantine. He's a fun character.
Here's the thing why I also like this guy among all three, and I'm having a bit of a struggle to decide. But in the end, if I have to pick one above the other, it would be John Constantine. But
Yeah.
I like them all equally. Here's the thing why I love him. Magic, basically the entirety of the magic realm and the spiritual side of the DC comic has not been that much, completely dug in compared to the sci-fi or fantasy version of it. Like, we have a lot of sci-fi coming from space, technology, superpowers, and all that, but spellcasters in general, we don't get that much of that. There is a plenty of them, but it's not as much as we would like to go for. Like,
Yeah.
we all know they always have one person who's able to dabble in the arcanes. For example, when you have Batman, you can find Zatanna. If you go for example the Teen Titans, you have Raven, for example.
Yeah. Every team
And
has
then
one.
they always need at least one. And John Constantine being that kind of a slight of a scumbag, but also trickster type of character is something I love.
Yeah, he's absolutely hilarious, and I love how even in Justice League Action, which is meant for kids, he still you still see him going into a portal to flirt with Succubus.
Basically. Or even get a drink.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know what? Respect to keeping the character consistent. Respect. Number 2.
Number 2, okay, this we're going to, of course, the ones that have been slightly mentioned before, but The Flash as my second favorite.
Yeah.
Barry Allen. Barry West, yes, the fusion of both. No, sorry, I meant
like
Barry Allen and Wally West.
Yeah. They're just great characters in general. We've already said I already talked at length, and I'm pretty sure you and I could probably talk forever just on Flash.
Yeah.
So we'll.
But funny enough, here's the thing. He wasn't part of my top 3 favorite for a long time. At the moment, when I basically didn't know anything about the Flash, I just knew he was a guy who goes fast, and my only source of knowledge about him is, of course, the Justice League animated series.
Yeah, well, he's a bit of a smartass.
He's a bit of a smartass, wisecracker, always having a quip on his lips, and also
Flirting with Evie.
very hanging with the entirety of the Justice League, while also using his ability for good. But here's the thing: on the power scaling system, Flash was kind of low tier. Like, Batman was stronger than Flash on this part. And I was like, so he just go fast and probably punch a few people, but when there is like big hitters, he doesn't do much.
See,
Until... Oh,
on.
yes? I was about to say...
I think you're about to say what I was about to say.
Then go ahead and tell us what I think on this part.
Lex Luthor took over.
Lex Luthor took over. Indeed. This is the moment when I realized that he barely just scrapped the minimum of what he was capable of.
Is
The
that that
moment-
it's not that he has a scratcher and more he knows he can do this shit. He just doesn't for the safety of everyone.
But he kind of makes it look like it's the first time that he kind of goes into there, which is weird in the idea. But here's the thing.
We hear from John Stewart and John Stewart who says, "Oh no, he knows he can do that. He just doesn't."
Yeah. And the moment he just embrace the Speed Force, this is where he becomes an absolute beast. So this is why
the Speed
further
Force.
on.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. I was talking about when Lex Luthor took over the Flash's body.
Oh no! I wasn't referring to that at the moment.
Oh,
I was
you're talking about
basically
these.
referring to.
Okay. Spoilers.
Just-
Spoilers. Flash basically tears Lex Luthor away from Brainiac. And
Tearing away is one word. He obliterated him.
the connections, yeah. And it's just like, yeah, no, Flash can kick her ass. He just holds back because he doesn't want to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Because
This
if
is
he,
why when. Oh, sorry.
just like in the new Suicide Squad versus the Justice League game, I'm sorry, but you're going against the Flash, and he's willing to kill.
Oof.
You're fucked.
Yeah.
It's just like
There is-
Superman. Just you don't fuck with him.
Exactly. Once some characters actually just snap, this is where you want to be clear of the blast.
Yeah.
Like, literally, there was a few situations. I do recall that, for example, Flash was having enough, and everyone, he was, like, all of his rogues, galleries, and enemies, like, some of them, for example, Mirror Master, Captain Boomerang,
Captain
Cold, they immediately they surrender. They don't want to have none of that.
Yeah. They know better. It's just like Mr. Popo from Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
Oh my god.
They know better.
Packing order. Oh my god, now I just imagine Mr. Popo's voice from the Abridged, but just as the
As the Flash.
Hello, I am Barry Allen, the fastest man alive.
And
This is
everyone
just
and then
terrifying.
everyone just surrenders, and the police is like, "How do you get them to surrender?" And he just in the Popo voice he goes, "They know better."
They know better. But yeah,
So
absolute beast.
who's your favorite now?
Well, it's kind of obvious. From a very young age, I was extremely interested about comics that are very somber and kind of a dark undertone to it. I was reading like Black and Mortimer, Thorgold, stuff that you really shouldn't show to a kid that's like around 5 to 6 years old. It's something like you go older. Until I found the one on either one of the comics that my father brought for me a long time ago, and of course the animated series, which is the goddamn Batman.
Yeah, Okay, so everyone at home, I want to mention this. I'm pretty sure term is like this too. We don't hate Superman. We really
No, I
don't.
actually love
We
the guy.
love Superman. He's definitely, if it was top 10, he'd be there somewhere.
I mean, he's already on my top. He's around the top 3, if I recall, right?
Yeah, I mean, in our personal favorites, Superman's just great, but it's the gosh damn Batman. There's a reason why he's so good, and villains are definitely one of the things. Like, how many... Think about how many good Batman villains there are.
There is quite a lot now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Why I place Batman above Superman is also another reason, is that he's just a regular guy. If you put, there is many situations where Batman fight the rogues gallery of Superman and vice versa, and Superman just basically cleans his head of the entirety of the rogues gallery of Batman. And Batman had to find clever and inventive ways to take down enemies that cause trouble to Superman. This is why I enjoy the most. Not a guy who's too powerful, but a guy who knows how to trick his enemy, outsmart them, and use even their own strength against them when he has none of the powers compared to others. So,
and that's
one of the reasons.
And that's one of the reasons why Batman is so popular. And I do think it's okay to have Batman make mistakes. I don't think he'd be perfect, but he's a perfect human being. But he should be up there to being real damn close. But yeah, Batman's great. You guys all know that Batman's. Everyone's a fan of Batman. Most people. So let's just move on to the villains.
Let's go towards the villains.
Yeah,
So,
and this one should be shorter. Do you want to start off the villain count? This one's just top 3 villains.
okay, so top 3 villains.
All
so
of DC. All of
Oh,
DC.
Jesus Christ, you're giving me trouble now.
Okay, I can answer
Uh,
this right away.
Go, yeah, sure thing.
Number 3, the Mad Hatter. Number 2, Scarecrow. Number 1, no wait, number 2 is Black Manta. Number 1 is Scarecrow. So let's go down the list. Mad Hatter, he's my 3rd favorite. A friend of mine pointed this out to me, and I have to agree. I'm obsessed with potential. Mad Hatter and the Wonderland Gang have so much potential, and I love it. Think about how fucked it would be if the Mad Hatter was a very courtish person. Like his entire gang talks like a court. That would just be creepy. The Mad Hatter has such good potential to be a very interesting villain, and I do need to read more Mad Hatter stories. And if anyone has recommendations, please, for the love of all that's holy, drop them in the description, and I will read them. And then you have Black Manta is number 2. Black Manta and Aquaman are the perfect superhero, supervillain duo. Aquaman killed Black Manta's father. Black Manta killed King Aquaman's father. These two, when they meet each other, it is not a fight. It is an autopsy report. And I love that. I love that dynamic. I love the idea of, I hate you, Aquaman. And Black Manta, today you will not walk out of here alive. I love that dynamic. I love it. I love it more than Batman versus the Joker, honestly. I'll be completely honest. And then you have Scarecrow. Potential for some really creepy ass imagery. Just imagine if the creator of Soul Eater / Fire Force did a Batman comic with the Scarecrow. Imagine the trippy ass imagery of that. Yeah, it's immediately interesting because this guy knows what the hell he's doing. Or hell, have anyone who can do horror comics do it. Because in the Batman Arkham Asylum, a serious house on a serious world, Scarecrow doesn't do anything, but he is so intimidating just with his brief appearance. I wish he had more lines. And again, I might be biased 'cause I do voice him in my project and in another project. But I love in Hush where he basically gave Hush his name by basically calling him out for being a spoiled little shithead. Hush, little child, don't say a word. Baba's gonna get you a mockingbird. That is so creepy. He's one of my favorite villains. And he needs a yellow ring, damn it. Give him a yellow ring, motherfucker. Anyways. Sorry, I love Green Lantern. And I love the idea of Scarecrow being a Yellow Lantern and just taking over the Sinestro Corps. Just like completely takes it over. I love it. Anyways.
So on my end, so you it seems to like a lot of the Batman villains. Funny enough, for me it's slightly bit different. I do have appreciation for some of them, but they're not my favorite. Funny enough, one would think that, for example, Joker is among my favorites, even though I love Mark Hamill's interpretation and basically living, breathing the Joker. Even though I enjoy seeing it, it's not actually my favorite. Funny enough, it's not around that. I do enjoy him, but not as much as the others.
Yeah,
Here's the thing.
Joker's
First,
a good villain.
he's an excellent villain. Basically the other half of the coin that is Batman. But here's the thing. I think they play too much on him after a while. When you see that a lot of stories surrounding Batman is just the Joker, after a while you start to want him to face someone else for a while. You know what I mean? Like, give the Joker a vacation.
Yeah, stop using the Joker in every fucking thing. That's the biggest issue with the Joker is they use him for everything.
Yep. This is why I do love the guy, but when you get fed the same thing over and over, you might want to start looking for something else. Speaking of something else, here's my third favorite. We're going back to the Flash Rogues Gallery, and there is the man himself, Eobon Thawne, aka Reverse Flash, aka Professor Zoom.
He's an asshole, and he's a fantastic asshole.
I love him.
That sounds wrong, and I don't give a fuck. He's a fantastic
piece
of shit.
He's absolutely amazing in the department that the guy would just go to lengths to make your life miserable. You know the meme about Zoom basically going, the one that goes, "It was me, Barry."
It was me, Barry. It was always me.
Do you remember when you've gone back through time to save your mother and you couldn't? It was me, Barry.
He's just like the Dio of the DC universe at this point.
Oh my god, just imagine him as, except they exchange both the role of him and Dio. Do you remember, Jonathan, whose lips were stolen, Erina? It was me, Jonathan, Eobon. Just him going back in time to mess with the Joestar bloodline, that would be funny.
Oh, fuck yeah, that would be great.
The guy is the amalgamation of I am not giving up. Pure determination of making your life hell and going to great lengths. And even though sometimes he team ups with the Flash out of necessity, he always finds a way to fuck with him in the end, and that's great.
Yes, it's absolutely fantastic.
The moment the main problem is out, he goes back immediately. He's like, "Hey, Barry, remember what your main problem is now?"
Yeah, but the thing too is, for me, the CW The Flash, actually, I think they did his character right.
Mm-hmm.
I like the first season of the CW's Flash simply because of the way they did the Reverse Flash. They had him show up every now and then to fuck with Barry, but for the most part, he was, quote unquote, stuck in a wheelchair, which was a fantastic twist.
Which was ironically enough. But yeah, even though he has a lot of good, excellent characters, even though I, for example, liked Godspeed a lot, but he's in that weird gray area where he is a friend and the foe at the same time. and that greed part. Basically, like if the Flash wasn't didn't care about like the security of his villains and only care about justice and vengeance. So just take Flash, put a little bit of Batman, you get Godspeed.
Yeah.
But no one has that much impact on the entirety of the story of the Flash that Eobon Thawne. It's just that.
Yeah, no, yeah. So, number 2.
Number 2, the Terminator himself, Deathstroke.
Really?
Yeah, do you recall how I said that I grew up watching the cartoons of the DC universe? Teen Titan was among them, and also the comics of the guy. And god damn was Deathstroke among my favorites.
Oh, yeah,
His design was just top notch. His booming voice in the Teen Titan version was haunting. I listened to it in both dubbed version, and they were great. As also, I have a special place in my heart for mercenary characters. Like, whenever I play a game and they tell you, yeah, you have many characters. Like, you have this royalty or this high court mage. Like, can I play the mercenary instead? Like, the guy who basically is an entirely sword for hire, who just, you pay him and he does stuff for you?
Yeah.
This is the kind of character I like.
Yeah, those type of characters are fantastic. And Deathstroke in the original Teen Titans was fucking fantastic. He was such a great character. Also, by the way, everyone, if you hear me cursing, deal with it.
I am very sorry for my lack of consideration when I tend to curse out of my mind.
Yeah,
it's just
don't
I'm getting hyped really easily.
Yeah, so I have to ask now. Number 1.
Okay, so the number 1 is kind of it's a tie between many characters, which ironically enough is from the Rogues Gallery of Superman, Lex Luthor and Darkseid.
Oh fuck, that's right. I keep forgetting. Darkseid's one of those characters. Darkseid's one of those characters where anytime I do a top like 5 or 10, I always forget to put him there, even though he's like my favorite villain of the DC. He really is. He's just one of those he's one of those characters who will just headbutt your fist and just not give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Darkseid is.
In the end, there is only Darkseid.
Darkseid is one of those is one of those characters where he's evil simply, to be evil, but he's deep in the context of the world.
Exactly.
There's depth to him, even though he's a very simple character. He's a 2D character. Everyone get because let's be real. He just wants to conquer the universe. That's all he really wants. Mm-hmm. But the way his people feel about him, the way that he has true loyalty, and the fact that from my perspective, he doesn't lie because he doesn't need to.
He wouldn't need to. Like, Jack Kirby had a very specific ID for the guy, and the dude, specifically in New 52, could take on the entirety of the Justice League by himself. He's a powerhouse, and he knows it, and he owns it.
Yeah, and he's absolutely great. And then Lex Luthor is
Okay, so here's the thing why I have a tie with both of them. Even though they are mostly Superman villains, even though Darkseid is pretty much like what they call it, an Avenger threat level, but he's basically such a deal that Superman alone cannot just take him down. He's basically gonna send an entire evasion towards you, so he's gonna need the whole team. Lex Luthor is kind of the same ID, but he's more closely tied to Superman himself.
Yeah, and Lex Luthor is just, and in the animated series, Lex Luthor is a fantastic character.
Mm-hmm. Either as the back of the entire situation, masterminding his way towards victory, or just literally going against Superman and making sure that he knows he basically used all of his assets to just take him down. What do you have? An intellect that is probably the second most intelligent
He's in the top
character in the
three.
DC. Yeah, basically
He's
the
in the
top
top
three.
three, and the interesting thing about the top three is we don't know who's truly smarter out of the three. Lex Luthor, Bruce Wayne Batman, or Mr. Terrific. Which, by the way, Mr. Terrific is a fantastic character. I need to mention that to Mr. Terrific. I love him. He's a great character, like
Mm.
legit. So, should we move on to the
Uh,
next question?
There is though one part would say that Lex actually considers Batman to be intellectually just slightly higher than him.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, Lex Luthor's ego gets in his own way.
Yeah,
Similar to like the
but
Riddler, where I legit think the Riddler could outsmart all three,
oh, that
but he has
I
such a
would.
big ego.
They would both have ego. That would be something interesting to see. Is basically not a fight off, but
A
a
brain
battle of
teaser.
the wits between Luther and the Riddler. That would be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I do think Lex would win that simply because Edward has a bit of a short temper.
Yeah, Luther wouldn't take much of the garbage that is being sent this way. It's like, yeah, you need to, for example, like, you need to go all this way with this room full of traps. Lex would just don one part of his armor and just blast the thing away. It's like, you're no fun.
Yeah, so here's a good question. What comic series is good to start off if people want to start reading DC? Personally, I say just go anywhere. Just pick a comic up and just start reading it. Fuck the continuity. If you don't understand what's going on, then that's perfectly fine. Hopefully, it gets you more curious. But as for me, personally, unless you have an answer, Ter, or do you need to think?
Usually I would go for, if I had to start somewhere, I would go for the origin stories, like the new origin stories. But basically, if you want to know a little bit out of everyone, rather than just a singular person, I would go for for Justice League one. For example, if I want to know about Batman, I would go for the Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
If I want to go for the Justice League, I would go for a League of One, for example.
Yeah, and I do want to mention this. If you want to get into the DC universe and you don't know really where to start in general, Justice League Unlimited, Batman Brave and the Bold, and Justice League Action. Watch these three shows. You'll find characters to go to, and then you can go into it. For me, it is very easy for me to pick this. Blackest Night.
Really now?
It is very heavy on the continuity with so many people who died. But they
I mean-
tease you. They tease you. Like, if you didn't know about Maxwell Lord's connection to Wonder Woman, he teases her about it. He teases her, and then you get to... And it's one of those things where you're just like, oh shit, Batman died? What the hell? Wait.
Ironically enough,
Robin
he
Robin is Batman now? What the hell? It's just going. The whole idea of it and why I recommend it is that it's going to make you ask questions, and because you are curious about these questions, because they do a damn good job of this, you're going to go back to figure out what the fuck happened, one character at a time. And since this is a big event and everyone's part of it, you're going to look back and just see, oh shit. It's like whenever someone tries to recommend like a Super Sentai to start off with, I always go with Gokaiger, which is the pirate one, simply because they show off all the other, Sentais. If they show off of all the Sentais, and to me, Blackest Night is the DC version of that, where they show off all these characters. And again, Jeff Johns may have his problems with retconning, but gosh damn, is he not a good writer? He's a fantastic writer, and I generally believe that any of his stories are a good starting place. But to me, Blackest Night steals the cake.
Which is kind of ironic. It's like you want to start to know these characters, then watch them die first.
But it's not just watch them die. It's just like watch them overcome death. Watch a good chunk of these characters at their best, and then go back and see how they got to where they were. Show them at their worst,
I
so you
mean,
can see them at their best.
yeah, and if you basically are interested into learning about some characters, especially the Green Lanterns one, yeah, Blackest Night is a good one. You
Yeah.
basically learn about the entirety of their universe and the spectrum that goes beyond just the green light.
Yeah, and even outside like TV shows and comics, then Kara is a good place to go.
Mm.
Honestly, I disagree with some of his reviews. I would not. I would take his reviews with a grain of salt if I were you. But generally, watch his videos. You'll get into. He would discuss the continuity, but you also have Casualty Comics out there who does good work. Variant Comics. There's a lot of YouTube channels that can help you after you read Blackest Night. Once you get interested in these characters, you can look up the YouTube videos according with them in it. And to me, that's the greatest way to get into DC Comics.
Which is funny enough now that I recall basically what happened in Blackest Night. But you have everyone that just tries to survive basically the end.
Yeah,
And here's one thing that I do recall about this is that I love how they do justice to some characters by giving them a send off. Although of course for some of them it's not always bright. But like I like to see some characters that have been kind of obscured for a while and then just making returns. For example, on the Lantern side corps, like for example the Red Lanterns, we haven't seen them in a while. Or just basically that one pesky little thing that holds the orange one.
yeah, the Orange Agent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Which is
he did their shithead, and he's great. What's
and
mine
he's-
is mine is
oh,
mine is mine, and not yours.
This is basically
Mine.
their entire creed. Everyone has more of a militaristic or just an entire kind of hymn that represents each corps.
In brightest
And-
day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light. Well,
Oh my
with
God.
the Orange Angel, it's just what's mine is mine is mine is mine, and mine and mine and mine, and not yours. That's the creed, basically, in a nutshell.
Also love the one for yellow, indigo, and red. Oh
Yeah,
my god,
the-
the red one.
Oh, I
Here's how it goes. With blood and rage of crimson red, ripped from a course of rashly dead, together with our hellish hate, we'll burn you all, that is your fate!
it's absolutely great, and we can just talk about Green Lantern continuity all we wanted.
Yeah,
It's
it's just
great.
so vast, and I'm kind of pissed at some occasion where they, for example, I was trying to see another part of the cartoon that kind of like that CG feeling to it. It was like, oh, we got some Red Lantern into the mix. What happened? They basically disable him, putting him into out by just removing his ring. Excuse me, doesn't that stuff
Yeah,
kill them?
no, come on. Yeah, it was. The show was overall good. Don't get me wrong. The show was overall
Yeah,
good.
but like
s-
they
so-
kill the guy.
Bruce Tim, I believe, is the one who was head of it. What the fuck? Anyways, that
Yeah,
So-
that was kind of weird, specifically since their power is basically their blood giving fire. So they just remove the blood.
yeah.
How do you live?
So
But yeah,
final thing.
yes.
What to do with the heroes on the channel? I've heard a lot of people say maybe we should do like DC hero interviews, but for me that's a little bit more difficult than to do with the villains.
Really? Why?
Well, because here's the thing: the villains are all captured,
Mm.
so they kind of have to talk to someone at some point. Whereas with the heroes, some of them do their job, they change back, and then they go off on their normal life. To me, I don't see a lot of. There's very few heroes who were stop and have a full-on interview with someone.
I mean, some of them do.
Some of
You
them
always
do.
have, for example, the Daily Bugle with Lois Lane, or just for the Gotham reporting news. Of course, some of them will be harder to actually interview. I could
Yeah.
definitely see Superman having an interview, The Flash definitely, but some of them might be a bit harder to,
Yeah.
catch, like Batman.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I want to include as many heroes as I can, and I already have a bit of an idea of doing maybe Horyu DC specials every now and
Hmm.
then, where we do a special episode where we focus on a hero doing their hero shit. That's an idea. But this question is mostly for everyone out there. All my little audience, for my tiny little audience who's already been great. Um, but what any ideas from you?
Hmm. I would say it would depend on which which character could be interesting to go for. For example, some of them aren't really well known, and some people might be interested to learn more about them.
Yeah, retrospectives has been something I was somewhat interested in, but I
Hmm.
feel like I might not be qualified for to do a retrospective. So if I do that, I'm grabbing one of our many helpers. Do you help me out with that? Because again, reviewing is something I've tried with Super Sentai. I was going to do a history of Super Sentai at some point, but then I was just like, yeah, no, this ain't gonna work.
Hmm.
But I do want to shine some light on some unknown heroes, like Rocket Red, Citizen Steel.
Rocket what now?
Rocket Red.
Let's just not say that backward. But yeah, I see.
um, Citizen Steel, Starman, Stargirl and Stripe, stuff like that. I really want to do something with those type of characters, and I do think retrospectives are a good way to get their names out there, and people will look it up. People will look up retrospectives. I know they would do well. I'm just not sure if that's something I can personally do, or if I'm going to have to drag someone into this. That'll make it so that way they'll end up doing the retrospectives, and I'll just help out.
Hmm.
I do know for a fact, though, if I do a retrospective, I probably would do one with Hawk and Dove, and I would love to grab Linkara or Casualty Comics into it. Mostly Linkara, because him and I are kind of like Hawk and Dove. If you want to go by the way our views on some stuff, we're very opposites in a lot of ways, but we're the same in some other ways. So you get both perspectives, which to me is what Hawk and Dove is all about. But these are just, again, some ideas. Do you have any ideas of your own term?
Hmm. I was thinking about what you said about having certain characters into it. Some of them which could be definitely be interviewed in that situation, and not specifically like the biggest players, but smaller ones. I was thinking like, oh, that would be interesting if we try, for example, to learn about more. For example, characters like Captain Atom, Booster Gold, or just characters we don't see that often. Funny enough.
Yeah, and I would love to see a show, some shows, take a bit of a risk on some of these characters, because I do
Mm.
think some of these characters are worth it. But yeah. So, um, any final thoughts?
Well, ironically enough, I'm not that knowledgeable about the entire DC universe, even though I spend a lot of time playing the games, learning about the characters and everything. But I always want to learn a little bit more about not the largest player, but everyone included in it, from the biggest players in the DC universe to smaller characters that basically do try to do as much as the big ones but are unable to.
Yeah.
And I
Like
always have to crave more knowledge more and more.
Yeah, and like even like the nowadays events that's going on like in with Ukraine, this is like a perfect opportunity for DC Comics to do a story with Rocket Red, because
Mm.
Rocket Red is a Russian superhero, and see his reaction, see his the Rocket Red Brigade's reaction to what they're doing and stuff like that. I think that could make for a very interesting story, and perhaps have a Ukrainian hero pop up in this crisis, in the crisis going on. This is a perfect opportunity to do something like that instead of pursuing other agendas. I think
Mm.
this can create an interesting story, and you can create an interesting story, and I would love to see DC tackle that
Mm. I mean,
personally.
always, this is one part of the big idea how to get heroes and characters. Heroes are always born from a strife
Yeah,
or just basically a conflict. So having characters like that could be an interesting way to interpret it.
yeah, and again, I'm not sure if DC is going to license out its characters at some point, and if they do license out their characters, I am thinking about turning this into a company and buying some of the license for some of these characters and doing something with them, like Wave
Mm.
Rider. That nobody knows Wave Rider. They just think of the damn ship from Legends of Tomorrow, and I am disappointed that Wave Rider doesn't show up in that show. Anyways, clever reference, by the way. Very clever reference. But fuck you, CW.
Oh,
um,
yeah.
but yeah, DC is one of those things where DC and Marvel, which one's your favorite, definitely depends on you as a person and what type of characters you want. Do you want characters you relate to that you feel like you can see next door, or do you want characters that you can look up to? For me, I want characters I could look up to, characters that will help me be better than I am now. That is
So
what
you
I
would go
want.
more towards DC in that case.
I am more DC. I love DC more. I love most DC heroes more than Marvel heroes.
Mm.
Even though the Marvel movies are fantastic, I prefer Darkseid over Thanos. I prefer the Joker over Killmonger. I
I
prefer
mean,
Mr. Terrific over Black Panther. Black
mm.
Lightning over Black Panther. Static Shock over Black Panther.
That's intriguing.
I
I don't.
prefer all these characters over. And I'm doing these type of comparisons for just for reference of like giving them like equal footing in some way. I'd rather watch Batman kick some ass than Tony Stark making a new suit. I don't know. It's just one of those things for me personally.
Oh yeah,
And
we definitely see you taking a side.
yeah, I am definitely on the DC side, even though I will admit some of the movies have been shit. I'm not going to sit here and defend the movies, most of them. I would defend the Aquaman movie, and I would defend the first Suicide Squad movie, because the first Suicide Squad movie was fun.
I
It
haven't
was.
watched the Suicide Squad yet. I have
You need
probably
to. You need to watch both of them.
when I have the time. I'll do that when I have the time.
Yeah.
On my case, uh, I'm not actually divided in either Marvel or DC Comics. I enjoy them both equally. So I'm
Yeah.
probably one of these really rare person who just don't have a side. They just love what they're given. I always go with the mindset that I will do with what I have,
Yeah.
and I will
And
do great with it. So I
yeah.
can see
And
definitely why you would enjoy more the characters that you will relate to. But at the same time, I'm also interested in what stories they could go for, what type of trouble and also adversity they can overcome. So I kind of look at both sides and enjoying them for what they have. I could
yes.
always say that I enjoy Batman as much I enjoy Iron Man or Spider Man for the Flash. They all have their quirks and intriguing stories. But in the end, I'm just gonna take the one that are in front of me and enjoy them for what they are, movies included.
Yeah. And you know, this is one of those things. And before we get going, I do want to mention that I do. If you guys are interested, let me know down in the comments. if you guys are interested in me mentioning anything about like doing separate videos where we really go into a bit of a deep dive on the interviewers, since all of them are original characters. And I'll be more than willing to go and do a bit more of a deep dive on them on this channel and explain to you guys everything about that. So this podcast has been over, and we'll both see you here in the madhouse.
And thank you, Gilliber, for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, no problem. And we're going to cut recording in 3,